Ah, The Last Guardian, one of the patron saints of development cycles that went on for far too long. With this and Final Fantasy XV out on shelves, that just leaves Kingdom Hearts 3 and Half-Life 3 waiting to take the stage, and at least we know Kingdom Hearts 3 has an estimated release window. But I digress. The Last Guardian is the third title from director Fumito Ueda, who brought us the classic PS2 duo Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. The former being the first PS2 game I ever played, and the latter being widely regarded as one of the greatest games of all time. Oh shit. Combine the 10-year development cycle with the fact that its spiritual predecessor was fucking Shadow of the Colossus? How could your finished product ever live up to people's expectations? Short answer, it doesn't. But on that note, it doesn't have to. Let's get into it. You play as an unnamed child who mysteriously wakes up in a cave next to a big chimera named... Treacle? Mr. Fluff. Mr. Fluff is chained up in the middle of the room and is hostile to your very existence. After feeding him a nutritious meal of leaky blue barrels, he begins to warm up to you, and the two of you break free and begin your journey through a huge, beautiful temple situated in a giant valley. And may I take this moment to say that Team Ico's games have always had beautiful landscapes and architecture, but this one really takes the cake. Throughout the game, you always get glimpses of where you can go and where you've been throughout the massive temple, and it's positively breathtaking. I've heard some people say that it looks like a PS2 game because of some of the low-quality textures strewn about the place. I get that to an extent, but for fuck's sake, guys, if you think this looks like a PS2 game, I'd like to see the PS2s you were playing on back in the day, because clearly I was getting ripped off. On the other hand, I won't cut any slack to the performance, because sweet Jesus is the frame rate in this game poor. I know Team Ico's games have never exactly had stellar performance, but I've seen much more graphically intensive games on the PlayStation 4 run better than this. Even running this on the PS4 Pro wouldn't net you much higher than 20 to 25 FPS throughout the majority of the game. I'm not sure if it's a stylistic choice to make the game more cinematic, but I don't like it. I didn't take this crap from Ubisoft, I'm not going to take it from anyone else either. Anyway, about that gameplay. Baloo plays a big part in your quest. While he's paying mine to follow you around to keep up his diet of leaky barrels, he is crucial to solving many of the puzzles strewn around the temple. You'll be required to climb on him to reach higher places, ride on his back as he ascends towers and pillars, use him to take out enemies that you have no means of defending yourself from, and much more. The puzzles in this game maintain a great amount of variety. They even have a few similar situations that act as a test to see how much you've been paying attention, the solutions of which are usually vague enough that you'll need to experiment and think outside the box to find out how to progress, without dealing with trial and error death traps at every turn. And at the same time, they aren't hand-holdy to the extent that you'll be left following a waypoint with a blurb saying, "Go here, fuckwit." Many of these puzzles rely on the help of Smokey, whose AI, physics, and animation are probably what took up most of this game's mammoth development time. All Yeller behaves just like a real animal. He starts out kind of acting on his own volition and what he thinks is the way forward, and gradually learns to follow orders as he bonds with you throughout your journey. Unfortunately, also like a real animal, Snagglepuss tends to take your commands as mere suggestions most of the time, and will either do something completely different to what you want, or just look at you perplexed as you angrily point at the stone pillar in front of you. This really got to try my patience at times when Muttley would just jump back through entire sections we just passed because I pointed a little too far to the left from where I wanted to go. Or in some particular areas where he would flat out ignore my commands for 10 minutes, and then I'd jump off his back to find another way past an obstacle, only for Mr. Fluff to finally get the gears in his head running, and jump over the chasm on his merry way, while leaving me behind to yell at him while he gormlessly stares back. The AI is impressive, no doubt about it, but it definitely leaves much to be desired. Another bugbear of mine is the camera. Considering how the environments span from huge and sprawling to cramped and claustrophobic, the third-person camera has a bad habit of getting stuck all over the place, rubbing up against the ceiling, getting hooked on rocks, and doing this thing where it will sometimes reset itself by fading to black and attempting to focus on where you are, something that proved to be incredibly disorienting and not particularly helpful moments. The overall story of The Last Guardian is left as subtext, so the majority of your journey is told by your growing relationship with Scooby-Doo as you traverse the temple, discovering what exactly is going on here and how you got here in the first place. Regardless of my irritation with his insubordination, I came to enjoy the bond-on show between Calvin and Hobbes. The game makes sure to establish well the risks and consequences of some of the dangers around the temple, and seeing the two of them overcome the hazards, sometimes just barely, makes me really feel the weight of the situation and remain on the edge of my seat when things inevitably go horribly wrong. There come many moments where you begin to worry just how much sustained punishment and injury that Simon Smith and his amazing dancing bear can take before one of them drops dead. There are plenty of genuinely heart-wrenching moments throughout, and that this game pulled it all off with just in-game interaction and little to no dialogue or cutscenes speaks volumes to me. I had my fair share of issues with the AI and controls in some areas, And there were a handful of puzzles that made me want to give up and go sulk in a corner, either due to the incompetence of Garfield or myself. But I pressed on through to the end and felt fulfilled as I sat back and watched the credits roll. I enjoyed my time with The Last Guardian. Your mileage may vary depending on how invested you got during the 10 years worth of build-up, but I feel confident in saying that people would be fine if this was the product they got if it was released on the PS3 in 2011. It's nowhere near the level of Shadow of the Colossus, and I'm not sure if people will ever consider it a symbol of video games as art like its predecessors, but I'd say it's still worth playing, if only to get some closure. Probably not something I'll be rushing back to replay again anytime soon, but I'm glad I saw it through to the end. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got some catching up to do.